For centuries, bullfights have portrayed bulls as menacing forces to be reckoned with. Angry beasts hell-bent on attacking a brave and elegantly dressed maestro, the torero, or matador, or the killer of bulls. Conversely, bulls have killed more than 500 matadors in Spain alone, dating back to the 18th century. Here, Victor Barrio in 2016. In 2014 in Mexico City, the rare female matador and single mother Carla de Los Angeles was gored not once, but twice in the same fight, and lived. Not long before that, also in Mexico City, a bull named Pajarito, or Little Bird, became so agitated he famously took his fight to spectators themselves. Stories about man fighting bulls date as far back as 2000 BC in Mesopotamia, when the bull of heaven was said to be slain by King Gilgamesh of Uruk. Bullfighting has been romanticized and glamorized by great classical painters. Ernest Hemingway famously wrote about bullfights, that a bullfight is the only place where you could see life and death. In 1947, Spanish matador Manolete, widely considered the greatest bullfighter who ever lived, after almost 500 battles with bulls and being gored 11 times, was coaxed out of retirement at age 30. An ill-fated decision, because upon returning to the ring, as Manolete mortally wounds the bull Islero with his sword, the bull rears up and gores Manolete, who would bleed to death. 3 days of national mourning were ordered. The headlines read, "He died killing and killed dying." Manolete remains the patron saint of bullfighting today. But today, bullfighting may be in the throes of death itself, amidst sweeping condemnation worldwide, that bullfighting is too cruel and barbaric to continue in a, quote, civilized society. However, supporters of bullfighting often call opponents hypocrites for crying animal cruelty in a society that eats meat from slaughterhouses that kill millions of bulls and other livestock each year for human consumption. How is bullfighting, they argue, any worse? For those unfamiliar with how a bullfight works, it plays out in 3 stages, or tercios. First, the bull enters the ring, his ferocity tested by passes he makes before the matador and his assistants called banderilleros. Then picadores on horseback thrust lances into muscle on the bull's neck. Lances, like these, stabbing into the bull's flesh, a maneuver designed to weaken and force the bull to drop his head and his lethal horns during the fight. In the second stage, the bull is further weakened when banderilleros thrust sharp barbed banderillas with razor-sharp tips like these into the bull's shoulders, designed to further agitate and anger the bull. The third and final stage is tercio de muerte, the stage of death. The matador, now alone, has 15 minutes to kill the bull. This particular fight is quite special. The legendary Mexican matador presently in the ring is El Zotoluco. He's retiring after 30 years of fighting bulls, and this is to be his last. He must artfully entice a series of passes from the bull. And contrary to popular belief, it is not the red cloth of the matador's cape that motivates the bull, because bulls are colorblind. What provokes them is the movement of the cloth and the matador. As the bull begins to tire, Zotoluco taps his sword on the bull's head. The crowd then goes silent in anticipation of Zotoluco thrusting his sword into the bull's heart. The bull doesn't immediately die, and seen trotting toward him is an individual known as a punteñero, who will stab the bull in the spine with a dagger, ending his life. The bull's body then dragged out by a team of mules. Once removed from the arena, most bulls are butchered for human consumption, their meat sold in the local marketplace. Some bulls, like this one, on extremely rare occasion, are granted a pardon or an indulto for their bravery if the crowd demands it. This bull will be set out to pasture, to stud, never to fight again. When matadors earn the respect of the crowd, they're often awarded the ears and tail of the bull they kill. One who routinely collects them is Spain's superstar matador, El Juli, bullfighting's most celebrated matador. A child prodigy, El Juli, by age 15, became the youngest professional bullfighter in history. As well, he's said to be the highest paid matador of all time, said to pocket $500,000 per fight, averaging 100 fights a year. That's $50 million he's said to earn annually. The mob scenes of fans carrying El Juli out of arenas have become legendary themselves. Bullfighters and bullfights have been celebrated in several countries around the world, starting with Spain, Portugal, in southern France, in Latin America, Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, and Ecuador, and Mexico, even though many of their respective citizens are against bullfighting according to various polls and are demanding a worldwide ban. Protesters outside this bullfight in Mexico City shame fans as they walk by, calling them killers. In smaller, less publicized bullfighting events around Mexico held without much attention from the outside world, fans often anticipate extreme levels of violence. That's because less experienced bullfighters at these smaller events haven't yet mastered the relatively clean kills of the big-time toreros at big-time fights. At smaller venues, the kill can be quite bloody. It's this kind of carnage that has led to a ban of bullfights in 3 Mexican states so far, says animal rights activist Anton Aguilar, who heads the Humane Society in Mexico.
Bulls are injured heavily, very deeply into their muscles. They bleed a lot. Their muscles are hurt, so they cannot lift their head, and they cannot properly see the bullfighter, so this is why they are more easily deceived with this cloth. The bullfighter stabs a sword that is supposed to cross the heart of the bull, but it normally doesn't, so they damage the insides of the animal, and sometimes they have to try again. Sometimes very often the animal is not killed as it is supposed to be killed. So it's a lot of suffering and anguish and pain for the bulls. There is a scientific consensus that animals are sentient beings. They are conscious. They have the ability to feel pain, stress, anguish.
Pain and anguish felt by bulls that seemingly doesn't register with hardcore bullfighting fans. Particularly on this day at Mexico City's famed Plaza de Toros, the world's largest bull ring that seats more than 40,000 people. Underway today is what's known as Mexico's annual Super Bowl of Bullfights, featuring some of Spain's top matadors. This on the same day as the other Super Bowl seen here on a big screen at the Bull Ring, American-style football Super Bowl, though few bullfighting fans stop to even watch the game. Lady Gaga's halftime show also plays silently to chants of Olé.
¿cómo estás? Estás igual.
One fan here hugs retired matador Humberto Flores, a beloved native son of Mexico, who has been gored himself and wounded 7 times in the ring.
La gente cree que esto es como de una carnicería cuando realmente existe el arte y se conjuga en la fiesta de los toros todas las bellas artes, desde la pintura, la música y la filosofía de un torero es de vida y el respeto hacia el toro.
Pepe Saborit is another popular retired matador from Mexico City here today. Pepe says by the age of 3, he was already waving a red bullfighter's cape. Inspired, he says, by his grandfather's lifelong appreciation for bullfighting as a fan, who back in the day knew all the big toreros. Pepe says one of his greatest regrets is that his grandfather died before he could see Pepe make his big debut in Mexico City's Plaza de Toros, considered the pinnacle of success for a Mexican bullfighter. The heads of 2 of the bulls Pepe fought and killed on a wall here at his home. Their names? One of them, Ojitos, and this big guy, his name, Amigo.
El toro es un amigo, es un colaborador. O sea, el torero no ve al toro como un enemigo, lo ve como un colaborador para crear este arte.
Venga.
Algunas personas probablemente se preguntan si alguna vez te sientes triste por matar toros.
Sí, no, sí, o sea, finalmente es cuando llegas a diferenciar la vida de un animal con la vida de un ser humano, sabiendo que es un animal de consumo humano, que, o sea, es un tema muy largo, ¿no? De esta cuestión del animalismo. Obviamente no matamos matar por matar. Si matáramos por matar, pues iríamos a una carnicería, a un rastro, y ahí se matan miles de millones de animales todos los días, pollos, cerdos. Uno puede matar una cucaracha, un mosquito, echa un mosquito en su casa para que no los pique, ¿no?
It's not a fair comparison. Animals that are slaughtered for food have to follow up a process of slaughter that is regulated by the law and that tries to be humane. And it is very different to slaughter an animal with the purpose of eating it than to slaughter it with the purpose of making a spectacle out of it.
Si uno se cuestiona la muerte de un animal que es de consumo humano, pues no mataríamos animales y la naturaleza nos dicta que el ser humano come animales. Tenemos dientes porque somos carnívoros. El pez gordo se come al pez chico en el océano. El león se come a la cebra. ¿No? Esa es la naturaleza. Cuando uno lo pone en la balanza de lo que uno es como ser humano y la cuestión artística y los valores que tenemos culturales y demás, pues ya no afecta tanto.
Children are being exposed to this cruelty, and this is dehumanizing, which is worrying given the current context of violence in Mexico and criminality and all these problems that you're aware of. The United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Children issued specific recommendations to Mexico, banning children from entering bullfights. And basically they stated that children attending bullfights were having their right to live free from violence violated.
Bullfighter schools that have been operating for decades in Mexico and Spain continue training the El Julis of the future.
This is the private collection.
And preserving the history of bullfighting remains quite important for many fans today. For example, Armenguilla Baquian and her family here in Tijuana are lifelong bullfighting fans with a collection of very rare bullfighting memorabilia that includes a capote de paseo, an embroidered shoulder cape worn by the late great bullfighting patron saint himself, Manolete.
In any subculture, there's always kind of like a holy grail of something, and I would say in bullfighting, to have anything that belonged to Manolete would be great, but this is very special.
Armenui's father, Armen, of Armenian descent, back in the day entertained bullfighters from around the world as the owner of the legendary Hotel Caesar here in Tijuana, where Chef Cesar Cardini invented the Caesar salad back in 1924. Armenui says before she could even walk, she received the special honor of her godfather, Mexican bullfighter Eloy Cavazos, dedicating a fight to her.
Dedicated that particular bullfight to me. And that picture is beautiful because my mom is carrying me in her arms. I was a baby, and it's my mother and father together.
Armenui credits her years growing up around bullfights, along with her admiration for Mexican artist Frida Kahlo, for her becoming the flamboyant, avant-garde artist and photographer she is today. She's taken hundreds of bullfighting photographs in Tijuana, no matter, she says, how controversial bullfighting has become.
The controversy surrounding this sport is worth talking about, but to me, bullfighting, as far as I've experienced it, is the only thing that combines culture, history, music, sport.
Armenui says she's presently working on a coffee table book featuring many of her bullfighting images over the years.
Everything from the expressions that run the gamut from fear, because yes, most of the time the bull loses its life, but you have to remember that you could die. There's people that are literally born into it. A lot of these bullfighters have no other way of getting out of their town, and they grow up in rural areas where bullfighting is as common and as credible as anything else. I mean, to them, it's a way out of their circumstances, and it's something that people do aspire to. And it is at the end of the day, it is a business.
A huge business until recently. For example, the bullfighting industry in Spain claims that bullfighting has contributed 1.6 billion euros to the Spanish economy annually, employing 57,000 people directly in and around the bullfighting business, as well as generating 142,000 indirect jobs in hotel and restaurant and transportation circles. However, Spain's culture ministry is reporting that the number of bullfights held annually has actually fallen 60% over the last decade. And in Mexico, there is said to have been a dramatic decline in bullfighting attendance. Never has there been so much opposition to bullfighting, says retired matador Pepe Saborit.
El futuro está muy amenazado. Hay una corriente animalista, una moda en la que estamos viviendo, donde varias transnacionales invierten mucho dinero para cambiar los usos y costumbres. El negocio de las mascotas es altísimo, es de las industrias más grandes a nivel mundial, y esto se logra a través de que igualemos los valores, al animal con el hombre. Los valores del hombre, pasárselos al animal. Si se logra eso, es más fácil que el ser humano consuma productos para animales, en este caso las mascotas.
This is something that will disappear. It might disappear faster as a result of people not attending any longer, which is what is going on. Cultures and traditions evolve, and the fact that something is a tradition does not necessarily mean that it should be preserved. I think the question is not whether bullfighting is a tradition or not, but whether it is morally right to preserve it or not.
Not long ago, a farmer in France made this short film about his fighting bull named Fadien. The farmer rescued Fadien before he was to fight in Spain. And now, Fadien is his pet. The farmer says he hopes Fadien's story will send a message to the world that bulls are intelligent beings that don't belong in a bull ring to face what is ultimately, for many, certain death. What are young people, what are your friends saying about bullfighting today?
Most of my friends, my peers, they don't like it. I totally understand why they're against it. It is a dying art form. I think that its best days are definitely over.
Many fans today are beginning to face the music, that as opposition to bullfighting continues to grow around the world, the days of death in the afternoon and carrying heroes off into the night may sooner or later be coming to an end.